and welcome to the About Small Business podcast. This is the 16th edition of the podcast, and today I'm actually speaking to Nathan Waters from Waters Property Management Services. Nathan, welcome, and thank you for agreeing to do this for us.
You're welcome.
Now, in terms of, you say property services, some people might think that's fairly self-explanatory, but would you mind just giving us a brief outline of what you do in your typical day's work?
My wife always has a go at me and says I'm sort of underselling myself, but essentially I'm a handyman, but on steroids. So I do the general sort of hanging things, but I do a lot of sort of plumbing work, electrical stuff I can legally do,
Right.
and sort of just other general house maintenance stuff, but other sort of jobs pulled in from the likes of Neil Marsden. He passes work on to me to sort of rectify issues with damp as well.
In terms of things that you couldn't, what would you have to say, no, I can't do this? What kind of job would that be?
Sort of jobs that I don't generally feel comfortable with or haven't had experience with before. So
Right.
I'm generally quite open with people with that. But on the legal side of things, there's electrical stuff you can't do if it's sort of changing circuits or adding to a fuse box. But also the gas side of things, you can't really touch that. That's quite a funny thing with the UK trade, in that there's a lot of people out there that can set up as a sole trader, but you don't need qualifications or anything for it or experience.
Right.
So I myself, everything is all self-taught. I built it up myself, the knowledge, everything, sort of as the business has went.
Right. So you've never actually trained to do the jobs that you've done.
And there's a lot of people out there that are trying to, in particular carpenters, are trying to get it more distinguished that is a trade.
Yeah.
But the UK is very not tight on the rules of people.
That's interesting. I mean, as you know, the fact that I would come to someone like yourself for any jobs that I need done, it's not an area that I'm particularly familiar with. But my impression was also, obviously, because I know to get your boiler checked, you need someone that's gas safe. I know that sort of you need electrical safety certificates now in rental properties. It would have seemed to me that we are quite well regulated, but that's not your experience.
In those respective things, yes, but in other aspects of stuff, general building, plumbing, I think that's where a lot of people get sort of let down with rogue tradesmen.
Right.
So,
do you think that's still a problem with your rogue builders?
Yeah.
Is it something that you're often called in to rectify jobs that
a lot of rectifying jobs, and to be honest, a lot of those jobs are also people that have contacted me in the past but haven't wanted to wait for me.
Right.
So they've got someone in, but they haven't done it.
Because how long is your waiting list at the minute? It's
for bigger jobs around about 4 or 5 months.
Right. So business is going well, and that's fantastic. Yeah. That's exactly what we want to hear.
Yeah.
We have discussed a little bit about your background. At school, though, I don't think we quite went as far back as that. Was like your favourite subject, was that woodwork, tech, that kind of thing, or?
It wasn't. When I was at school, I was very heavily into my sport. But I did also like the woodworking side of things.
Yeah.
But because of the higher sets and the way they done school, if I had to do the woodworking, I would have to give up sort of I was doing the BTEC sport.
Right.
When I was there. Instead you had to do a language, and I knew, I cottoned on that there was a woodworking lesson that went alongside my French lesson, and I pestered my teachers I said I didn't want to do French, so I eventually managed to get in with the woodworking side of it as well.
Right.
It was a lower set, but I wasn't bothered by it.
You just enjoyed it at that point.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, was that a family connection? I mean, was I don't know, parents or grandparents, were they often pottering around a shed, or were they even in the trades themselves?
My granddad was very good at sort of carpentry,
Right.
He wasn't self-employed with it, but he'd done a lot of stuff carpentry-wise. He went into a lot of prisons to teach them carpentry.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, his trade was he was a miner. But
Right. So when he was going to prisons, was that something he'd set up on his own, or?
no, I think it was something he was asked to do and go along to do. I don't know the full story of it, but it's just one of those stories you remember of doing.
Yeah, no, quite a commendable one as well.
Yeah.
So we've snuck into the woodwork class at school, but was it? Would you say sport was your passion then at that time?
It was at that time, yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Which any particular sports?
Athletics.
All right.
Yeah. And you could ask me what event I've done everything. I've went through it all.
Right.
All the way up through to college. I'd done that, and then as soon as I sort of hit university, it just dropped off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because remind me what your degree was in? Because obviously you went through, you did your BTECs and then...
Yeah, it was sports science.
Right.
A degree in sports science.
Which university did you go to?
Bath.
All right. So properly travelling then.
Yeah.
It's not a daily commute down to Bath.
Yeah.
It's all right. They're fantastic. A lovely city as well. Got a couple of friends that are from Bath.
Yeah.
Are you not tempted? Were you not tempted to stay down there?
I wasn't. It was when I started to sort of come to the end of my degree.
Yeah.
When I was looking for stuff. The only potential thing I had when I was down there, I was actually working for a wedding company.
Right.
And I was doing a lot of work for them, and they was trying to push me into a manager role.
What sort of work for?
It was just the running of the wedding events.
Right. Okay.
The whole day. They were trying to push me into that, but I didn't want to. I knew I wanted to come back up home because I was with my girlfriend at the time.
Right.
And she was up here working and I was down there. So we knew either one of us were going to have to give, but both of our families are up here. So it just made sense to come back up.
I think house prices are a bit cheaper as well, aren't they?
The people are a lot nicer as well.
Right. That's it. Northeast, you can't complain at that. No, that's so basically we're down in Bath. You made decisions to come back up. And I mean, what kind of jobs from your sports science?
Yeah.
From your sports science degree, what kind of jobs were you looking at?
I think it was sort of coming up at the end of my degree, and I was doing a lot of work alongside my degree as well for my landlord.
Right.
Where he was sort of just like cash in hand, help us out a little bit here with some stuff. And I started to really enjoy that. And I kind of looked at sort of that side of things, but I never knew how to go down it.
Right.
And I was thinking more long term, I've got to look at something that pays a bit better here.
Right.
So I started looking at apprenticeships as a maintenance technician. It's sort of the industry my dad's in. So I started looking at them at Nissan.
Right.
And was applying for a maintenance tech apprenticeship role there.
So a big employer.
Yeah.
Hopefully safe, steady work.
Yeah.
Did you just abandon your degree, or was it just a case like you'd got a degree and that opened a few doors? Or
I got through the degree. I was pretty adamant that I wanted to finish it. It was only sort of towards the end of the degree where I was deciding this isn't 100% for me.
So you'd lost a bit of the passion for sport.
Yeah.
Right.
It was. I think it was when you start to come to the end of it, and you kind of actually look at like, right, what can I actually do with this?
Mm.
And I think there is a little bit of a miscommunication in the education of people how to go about life.
Yeah, I mean, from personal experience, I mean, when I went to university, obviously quite a bit before you, the narrative that was kind of pushed was that as long as you've got a degree, then everything's going to be fine. And that, sort of, I remember sort of myself, a lot of my peers at the time leaving, and that certainly wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Because by that point, everyone wanted experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think sort of relatively recently, we've got a lot of people that are doing courses that just really aren't going to get them great jobs. I mean, I was chatting to one chap on this podcast the other week who was an exception to that. He'd done a music tech degree, and he now owns his own sort of production company, FX Productions, and doing very well. But certainly, I think in terms of the statistics, that's not always the case. So reality check, just a sort of a rethink, and you started at Nissan.
Yeah.
And were you enjoying that?
Loved it.
Loved it.
Loved it, yeah. But the first year was all in college. So it was kind of like a bit of a comfort. It was like uni, but it was easy. It was easy going. There was the practical side of things in there as well. It was all controlled. And then coming at the end of the first year is when we hit COVID. And it just all went on to online working and trying to get 30 maintenance tech students that are used to coming in being hands-on in college to now sit at home
and that was through
teams.
And that was through lockdown.
Yeah.
Right. Been of a lot of businesses' lives, that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I must admit, lockdown almost destroyed my business. I'm a limited company, so didn't get any support, and just wasn't allowed to carry on. But I must admit, I did always feel for people who were at college, you know, or kids that were at university, and they're just not getting the experience that they'd signed up for. Mm-hmm. Is that how you felt?
It's how I felt, but I was a bit more mature than a lot of the other people on the course, so I could sort of reason it with myself a little bit more.
How old were you at this time then?
I'll have been 22, 23.
Right, not that much older then.
Yeah.
But still able to do that.
Yeah.
And so obviously lockdown finishes. What happened to you then?
The lockdown itself wasn't actually finished. When we came into the second year, that's when you started to get transitioned into the plant.
Right.
So you put choices into sort of what area of the plant you want to go into. Mine was paint shop, and then you sort of get transitioned into shifts. So 12-hour shifts, 2 days, 2 nights. But to be honest with you, I didn't really get very far within that, because as soon as I sort of stepped into there, it was kind of a sensory overload.
Right.
There was a lot going on, and then that sort of triggered a lot of anxiety and mental health issues.
Right.
So that's when I sort of hit a massive sort of block in my life in that respect.
Right. And were Nissan supportive in that?
Massively.
Yeah.
Couldn't flat them at all. I had a month sick. Then they looked at phase return. Right. Literally only had a couple of days, and it was just fired up again. And then it sort of got halfway through my sickness on the other bit, and I sort of sat down with my wife and said, this isn't going to go anytime soon. Right. So I sat down and talked to Nissan, and they were really supportive. Paid me my months of that and give me an extra month on top. That is nice. Said I could come back whenever I wanted. Yeah.
Right. And so at that point, you've walked away from your job, had to walk away from your job. Obviously, your income as a household's compromised. Mm-hmm. You've got anxiety. I mean, what's going on for you then? Because, I mean, if the money stresses that you must have been going through, they certainly can't have helped.
I was very, very fortunate in that at the time I was still living with my parents.
Right, okay.
So there was no bills or anything like that. The only thing I had was my car that was financing.
Right.
And alongside of that, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was working full time and was really supportive with it as well.
Right. So you got some good people around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think anyone that's been in that situation makes a massive difference, and that's good news.
Yeah.
So you've still got a situation where, for your own sense of purpose, you want to sort something out. What was going through your mind at that point?
I think what anyone does, you just try to start looking for things just to keep you ticking over.
Yeah. Was this to keep you busy or for paid work?
It was a bit of both. I wanted bit of paid work, but then I also wanted something that would actually get me out of bed in the morning.
Right.
And sort of build me back up again.
Were you
confidence-wise.
finding that hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Really hard.
So what was it that stirred you?
It definitely wasn't the day I tried to be a Hermes delivery driver.
Right. That was one of the jobs, was it?
Never doing that again.
It's interesting. I mean, I know they're under horrendous pressure to get a number of parcels out. It's a pretty thankless task from what I see. I'm just based off social media posts that I see.
Yeah.
And people say, no, who's Hermes delivery driver for whatever postcode, whatever street. Yeah. And
it's not Hermes now, it's Every.
Yes, Every. So I think everyone sort of knows that, and I don't think they're sort of shaking that. But no, I do have a lot of sympathy for the drivers. So having done it, what's the reality?
To be honest, I had a few issues with. I didn't have all the gear for it, so it was like the first sort of trial day.
Right.
Essentially, I was on the whole day, and it was a nightmare.
Right.
Me personally, I couldn't leave parcels places, so I was just kind of taking them and trying to knock on neighbours, and so the time to money ratio wasn't really worth it.
So in terms of how that works then, are you getting paid per parcel? Right.
Per parcel.
Right. Okay. So that's not, if you're trying to do the decent thing and look after people's parcels, then that is going to be compromised.
In the grand scheme of things, I think I'd done 6 to 7 hours, and you're driving your own car, and I think it was like 30 odd £40 for that time, and that was without putting the petrol into it. I imagine you get more efficient with the more you do it, but yeah,
there's no minimum wage. Were you considered self-employed for that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like an Uber driver, but delivery driver, and ways that companies can end up, I suppose in your case, certainly from what you're describing, end up paying less than minimum wage.
Yeah. Right.
So how long did you stay with that?
Oh, a good strong 6 to 7 hours.
Right. So
I literally went back, said, "Here's your parcels I didn't deliver. I'm not doing it."
Right.
And it wasn't because of the money; it was because of the sort of the stress that was.
I was going to say, if you're feeling anxious, then that doesn't sound like it's going to help in any way, shape, or form, does it? So wow, it's. How were they used to that sort of thing?
To be honest with you, I didn't hear from them.
Right.
I sort of texted the guy that was enrolling me into it, said I've dropped things off, and I never heard back. So I imagine it's a norm.
Yeah, it sounds that way, which is a shame. Which is a shame. I mean, we're living in a society that needs that service. But wow, okay. So following your very brief stint in delivery, what was next for you?
It was hard. I was still applying sort of for jobs that were similar to what I'd done with the wedding industry.
Right.
Because I thought it was a familiarity, but nothing was successful. There was just competition for younger kids going in that they could probably pay less.
Yeah.
So alongside of that, I still wanted to try and find something that would get us out of bed. So I started a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And I started restoring old tools and things like that and making videos on them.
That's for a young sporty lad, that doesn't strike me as the sort of idea that would be the first one that came to mind. What was it? What made you decide on that topic?
I think it was because when I was in that period, the only thing I found that helped me out of an anxiety attack was to sit down and watch YouTube videos, and a lot of the time it was videos like that were not a lot of speaking, very slow and methodical.
Yeah.
So I think that's what sort of got us into that.
So it's that familiarity. Yeah. So I'm enjoying watching this.
Yeah.
I think I might enjoy Oh, right. So, and you were restoring. I've watched one of them. It is strangely therapeutic. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not one that's interested in tools per se, but just watching as you're going along
yeah,
and restoring, repairing things so they look pretty much brand new. It was like, oh yeah, I can.
yeah, yeah. It was rewarding, but it didn't pay.
No. How many subscribers did you get up to?
I couldn't tell you. I think it was about 300. I only posted 3 videos. I think it was about 300
Oh, that's
odd
pretty good.
subscribers.
Actually, I
Um,
am just going to say, if we can take that as a cue, if you're enjoying watching this, if you could like and subscribe, that would be awesome. Right, so with your YouTube channel then, you posted 3 videos. Was there a reason that you only did the 3? Was it taking a lot of your time, or?
it was taking a lot of time, but then that's when I started to do other things alongside of it, and that was pretty much the start of my business.
Right, so your business then, because I mean I was going to come on to that.
Yeah,
It wasn't something you thought, right, I've got a business, I need a business plan, I've written a business plan, this is what I'm going to do. This was just something that was running alongside.
I was just doing that in my own time.
Yeah,
Um, but a lot of sort of friends and family and friends of friends were seeing the videos and saying, "Do you think Nathan could fix this?" And "Do you think you could fix that?" And
right,
I was doing it for free for people, but the odd person was like, "No, shut up, here's 20 quid."
yeah,
And then I started to think, right, all right, I can make a little bit of money, just sort of doing stuff. And I had a lot of other sort of family and friends wanting me to do stuff around the house, just little odd jobs. And I think that's when that sort of started to take off as like, right, this could probably be what I do for the rest of my life.
right. Because I mean, clearly, it's soothing for you. Clearly,
Yeah,
you're enjoying the fact that you're helping family because you're not
yeah,
charging them.
yeah.
And right, so was there a conscious decision at any point? It's like, sort of, right, now I'm going to start promoting, taking advert. What happened?
I think it was sort of coming to the end of be about 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. It was coming to the end of the year, and I remember thinking, like, right, I'm gonna start my own business, and when I do something, it has to be everything. It
Yeah,
was like the name, website, domain, correct email address, everything, personal, like
just want it looking
separate
professional.
phone number, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty much from there, just sort of advertising on Facebook.
Right. So, I mean, out of all those things, I mean, I'm sure there may be people watching who are in a similar position, be it for whatever it is they do. Out of all those things that you just mentioned, what was the hardest thing that you found?
None of it,
No.
because I wanted to do it. I think if you want to do something, you'll do it, and it's
Have you done everything yourself then,
yeah,
like sort of with the website,
yeah.
the
The website I've got at the moment, I haven't done. A friend done that.
right?
It was the same friend that sort of designed my logo when I started my business.
Oh, okay.
And took my photos and things for the website. But I think there was one birthday. He said, "Here's a new website for you." And
So that was a birthday present.
yeah, it was, yeah.
That's was that the best birthday present ever, or
It was close to some birthday presents.
right? What was we've got to go off a little bit off topic. What's your best birthday present ever then?
Um,
Be careful if your wife sees this as
I
well.
I got a tube of Pringles one birthday, and it was
Okay, what flavour?
barbecue.
Yeah, absolutely best out there.
Yeah.
Texas barbecue. Fantastic. And that's better than your own website, your own
Yeah.
domain and everything.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Mhm.
And so in terms of building your business up then, so I mean, because how long you've been going now?
It'll be coming up 4 years this year, I think.
4 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so from a few odd jobs for your family,
Yeah.
we're now at, what was it, 5 month waiting list?
At the moment, yes. I
So
think
that's
when I started, pretty much within 2 or 3 weeks of being started, I was sort of busy. I knew I was busy the next week,
yeah.
and I thought, all right, this is good. I can comfortably sort of do that. And I remember posting things like on Facebook, like just so everyone knows I'm busy the next week, but I can fit you in the week after.
Yeah.
And
so is this like a psychological trick then that you're
no,
playing, or just
I don't know. I used to just post it on Facebook just so people knew
Yeah.
where I was at, and
managing expectations? From
yeah,
others?
that's sort of continued now. I don't post it as much, but I think people sort of understand now how
Yeah.
long they've got to wait. But now and then I will post saying, just so everyone knows, for day-long jobs, I'm currently booked up for the next 4 to 5 months.
Yeah, well, a brilliant situation to be in. I mean, did you anticipate that you'd be that busy?
Yes and no. I knew I could make it good, and I knew a lot of people would cotton onto it, but then I also didn't know it would go that well as well.
Was it ever scary?
Nah,
No.
no. I had nothing to lose. To set the business up, I pretty much used the extra month money that Nissan gave me to get stuff I needed to get going.
Right. Did you need much, or?
Not a lot, really. I started off with a lot of tools that my dad had,
Yeah,
and a few other bits that I had.
bits that you were restoring.
Yeah. And then just sort of picked up stuff that I needed to as I went. At the time, I was running out of a little Ford Fiesta.
But handy little cars, though. Obviously, once you get the seats down,
Yeah,
in the back.
but I think one day I had a sheet of material through going to a job to make someone a wardrobe. And I was going around
Not
a
an ideal car
roundabout.
for that, is it?
I was coming off a roundabout, and it slipped and jammed my steering wheel, and I sort of came off the road and managed to put it back on. And the next day I was putting a deposit down for a van.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're a fast learner then.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. Near death experience.
Yeah.
Buy a van. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair play to you. Brilliant. So essentially, then you've spotted. Was it spotting a gap in the market, or was it just doing what you love doing?
It was doing what I loved doing. And I think when I started looking at it more, there was a lot of other people that were doing very similar things.
Yeah.
But it was very typical handyman sort of stuff, flat pack furniture, which I'd done a lot of when I started.
Yeah.
But that was because people would call you up and they wanted it done tomorrow.
Mm.
And I had the availability to do that. But as things sort of progressed on and I started to take on jobs that I was pushing my skills for a bit more just to get the experience.
Yeah.
That's when it started to take off a little bit more. And
right.
I think that's a key thing that a lot of people that are sort of doing that need to know, that I was very, very adamant that if I didn't know how to do something or knew that I couldn't do it, I would tell the customer.
Right.
I would never sort of go along and just play it by ear. If I knew it was something that I could possibly do,
yeah,
but hadn't done before, I would be open and honest with them and say, I could possibly do this.
So just about managing the expectations.
Yeah, yeah. And I would tell them, we'll do it at a discounted price. If you let me have a go at it, I won't leave until it's to a standard that you're happy with. And then from that, I'm getting the experience and sort of
right
knowledge to do it.
And how do you, in that kind of situation, how are you acquiring the knowledge that you need? Are you looking online? Are you speaking to other people?
A lot of it is learning as you go, or just YouTube. I keep saying one day I think people will be able to get a degree off YouTube. It's
interesting, the podcast that's going out the night that we're filming this, RT Fitness, the gentleman there, he's saying pretty much the same thing. He's self-taught, and I think it's an interesting one for the likes of myself and yourself who've been to university.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, well, funnily enough, I mean, my degree is actually in film and television.
Mm-hmm.
And I've probably learnt more from doing this
Yeah.
than I did from my degree. And I think that's it is going to be an interesting one. So YouTube. So you're finding that's been a really good resource for you.
Yeah.
So I mean, given how you started, are you not tempted to fire up your YouTube channel again as you're going around doing these jobs? Just film you doing the jobs.
Yes and no. I think a lot of it's time consuming, because again with the videos, I wanted it to be 100% bang on.
Yeah.
I did do a couple of TikTok videos and a couple of videos for my Facebook, sort of time lapses of things and
Yeah.
what have you. But
do you enjoy that side of it?
I do when I've got the time.
Right.
The way the business has gone, when I come in, I probably get about 5 new customers messaging me, calling me every day.
Right.
So it's keeping on top of them and reoccurring messages with people that are sort of ongoing.
Yeah.
So it's trying to keep on top of that, and by the time I've done that, you just want to chill.
Yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
You know, you're entitled to a bit of downtime. But I mean, brilliant to know that that's actually going as well as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it sounds to me from what you're saying, you know, you've had a hard time in your early career.
Mm-hmm.
Since working for yourself, things are just going from strength to strength. Would that be a reasonable assumption to make?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, I like to ask people what the sort of main challenges in the business are. What would you say yours was?
I'd say mine's the communication side of things and keeping on top of that.
Right.
Sometimes I can get so caught up in stuff.
Mm.
I think my phone goes all day, and I think a lot of people think when they look at my website and how professional it looks, that
Yeah.
I'm not a one-man band. I've got lots of people working with us and for
Yeah.
us. So I think that can be quite hard keeping on top of that, but a lot of the time as well, I think I struggle with being a bit more disciplined in pricing things. I get a lot of people saying you're underpricing yourself, Nathan.
You just want to be nice, don't you?
Yeah.
You're a nice lad.
I've done a lot of jobs for people essentially for free.
Right.
Because the person's going through a really hard time. But there is a couple of customers that I've done that for, and I've had them for life, and I've made my money.
It's paid it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
also
that's
the recommendations.
Yeah.
To other people.
I think it's an interesting one. I think people do often forget the value of that goodwill in business, and yeah, it is an interesting one. It's like, maybe it is free, but if you think what you might have had to spend on advertising to attract the attention for a start, and then obviously for the reputation of the reputation and integrity of you as a businessman to come out and do a job to look after the customers, and it's those relationships that you're building, which I think particularly now in the current market is absolutely invaluable.
Yeah.
But no, so I mean, we've looked at challenges. You're not overly happy with I suppose the admin side of it. Does that just bore you?
It does a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of it. A lot of it. I'm trying to keep on top of it.
Well, do you foresee a time where you'll be taking someone on, or?
I don't know. I think with that will come its own stresses. Trying to find the right person.
Ensuring someone that can match up to your standards.
Yeah. I mean, it gets to this time of the year, and I get the amount of phone calls I get for people asking if I'll take an apprentice on is ridiculous.
Right.
So that is possibly something. I know for a fact I could probably take on loads of people and make it into a massive business, but the reason I set my business up was to just get me out of bed and keep me happy. And
I'm going to say, I mean, just from what you're saying in terms of like you turning up if people are going through a hard time, you don't mind helping them out. You want to make sure that you're doing this for a sense of pride in what you do very much, and you don't seem especially financially driven.
No, I have a lot of people that. I had a guy once. It was when I was more sort of 2-3 months waiting list, and he said it was probably only a 2 or 3 days job to do for him, I give him a price. He said, "Oh, that's great. When can you do it?" I said, "About 2 or 3 months' time." He said, "I'll give you an extra £600 if you can sort of fit me in within the next sort of 2 weeks." And I said, "That isn't going to happen. I'd have to reschedule other people." And he said, 700. And I said, I'm not driven by the money. I said, "You'll have to find someone else." I said, "I'd have to let people down
Yeah.
to sort of fill your needs in that." And he said, "Okay, great. Book me in 2 or 3 months' time."
Right. I mean, it's nice that he did that.
Yeah.
That is nice that he did that. And quite reassuring as well in a way, I think, isn't it? It's like you've not lost that customer, and I suppose demonstrate to them your levels of integrity.
Yeah.
So what are you? I mean, we're not looking at expanding. We're not particularly money driven. What's the best bit of your job? Best bit of the business for you?
Probably seeing the people and helping the people out.
Yeah.
I think even with the small, tiny little jobs that people have been turned down by so many people and helping them out, it's just really rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much altruistic feeling of helping. No, what a fantastic way to be. So in terms of the future then, what does the future look like for you? How do you see it panning out? In an ideal world, if you could wave a magic wand, how would it pan out?
I don't know, because again, I know where the business could go.
Yeah.
Taking people on, taking apprentices on. I've had a few people contact me asking if I'll franchise the business. But I know for a fact a lot of that comes with a lot of other challenges, and I'm kind of scared that'll get knocked back. And with those also comes possibility for me to have to step back from being on the tools.
Yeah.
And be more admin-y and
stuff. It's that thing, do you want to run a business or do you want to live your business?
Yeah, and I'd rather be poor and happy than stupidly rich and, not spending time that I want to spend with people and family.
No, what an absolutely lovely sentiment.
Yeah.
And probably a fantastic one to end on as well. I mean, it's interesting at the minute where you see on TikTok people forever talking about money. We've got a side hustle. This is how you can make this amount of money. You want to sort of run a business, but for me, if people are lucky enough to be able to find a passion and live the passion, I'd take that any day. Yeah. It'd be nice to have the money that you'd never have to worry, but when all's said and done, even if you're a millionaire, you've still got to find a way to spend your day.
Yeah.
And if you can make those choices, if you're lucky enough to be living those passions, living those dreams, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So Nathan Waters, I do wish you every success with this. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Nathan.